So we're going to start. First, I would like to say I'm going from the court. We're going to send our condolences to OJ Simpson and his family on the death of OJ Simpson, who made it very clear about a year ago that he was battling with prostate cancer. Unfortunately, he fell victim and has lost his life to this cancer, and we want to extend all our condolences to him and his family. But legally, let's talk about it. Legally, now that he has passed along, Nicole Brown Simpson's estate is saying, hey, buddy, you owe us $33 million. And to date, you've only paid us $132,000. So, Attorney Redwine, please tell us, now that OJ has passed, does his family still owe Nicole Brown Simpson's
Absolutely.
money?
They absolutely do. So it's no different than I've had instances as a civil attorney where my client was injured by a serious, like a major vehicle, a commercial truck. And at the time of trial, or actually before trial, when I was preparing to file the lawsuit, the driver died. So therefore, I simply sued his estate. So what's going to happen here is the family of Nicole Brown Simpson, as well as Ron Goldman, they're entitled to go after the assets of the estate, which he's got millions, we know, in his homestead. And I'll let Attorney Brion talk about that part.
Well, and he had a house in Florida for a while after the trial. And the reason you buy a house in Florida, people, is because Florida has one of the strongest homesteads in the country. What is a homestead? A homestead is the government's way of giving you protection from civil judgments. So if you own a house in Florida and you go and you take out a credit card from American Express and you bill up $50,000 and then you don't pay it, American Express in other states can force you to sell your house to collect that judgment. But in Florida, where they have a strong homestead, you cannot be forced to sell your house to pay off that credit card. That's what OJ did. He lost his civil trial after they basically said he murdered his wife as a civil matter. He won the criminal trial, but they sued him civilly and he lost that. So when he lost that, what do? Move to Florida, buy the biggest house you can afford because there's no limitation on the homestead. And that's what he did.
Okay, so let me ask you this, both attorneys, Redwine and Ross. So, okay, we know that protects his house. What about his other assets? Like for him, his memorabilia. Remember, he had a lot of money wrapped up in his memorabilia. Also, what about his retirement accounts? What about money that he has in the bank and all of that? Two questions. Does the money in those accounts or value of those accounts pay down his debt first? And then the civil case is like third down on the list of people to get paid? Or does all of his estate transfer to the family or however he may have it set up? I'm thinking he probably got his financial affairs in order this past year.
Yeah.
Or does it go to the estate in the trust, and then the trust is liable for paying out the civil costs after all his other costs are paid? And last question, do the kids see anything?
Ooh, that's a lot of questions. Brion, you answer? I would say the answer is the kids are probably not going to see a darn thing. If they're able to, it would be something from the trust. But the issue is this. The way debts and so forth go is it goes by what's called lien priority.
Right.
And this debt is 30 some years old. So it is older than likely any other debt that he probably has. So that one will go first. And because of the age of the debt, it's accrued a bunch of interest. Brion, I think you had those figures.
Well, I think it was $33 million in 1994. And now because he hasn't paid, it's ballooned to $96 million he owes.
No way.
Yeah, almost $100 million he owes to these people.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So because of the accrued interest, interest wasn't the initial cost. So does that change the position of the debt?
No. The interest is court-ordered interest. So that is why it's really important when people say, hey, go ahead and sue the person, get a judgment, because the interest accrues until that judgment is paid off. And in situations like this, now it looks like, hey, the memorabilia, all those things will have to be sold just to pay this debt. So even if he has a will, it's not going to matter because the estate is who you don't give things to. It is OJ Simpson's estate that has to owe this debt. And even if he puts his house in the trust, depending upon state law, and here we've got Florida law, at least where he's located, but California pertaining to the trial, it looks like he's going to have to sell everything to satisfy the debt first.
Wow. So anything that he had or owned before the trial, that still will have first position. So if he had a home before the trial where he was found guilty, they would have first position in collecting debt. Ever since the trial, the civil judgment came down, that then decides at the date of that which position that they would have. So it could be possibly third or fourth or fifth, but it's been second, third, or fourth for the life of that decision, right?
So the date that we're talking about, though, it pertains to the date of the debt, not the date of the assets that he has. So as far as the date of the debt, this is likely the oldest debt. And I did want to be clear. Some states will allow you to gift some things via inheritance. I don't know what the limits are for his state, but if they have certain limits, he may be able to leave a little something to the kids, but everything else will likely have to go to the victims.
I'm just sad about this. Come on, Attorney Ross, can't we come up with something like at least to make sure?
If I was OJ's lawyer, I would have given him a mechanism, and there are mechanisms to transfer your Florida house to your kids. There's a way to do it. Now they inherit the homestead, and you just live there as a renter, basically. $1
Yes.
a year.
I own a title company.
Give it $1 a year. So if the house is worth $3 million, $4 million, and you passed away, now the kids have that asset that belongs to them, and the Goldman family, fortunately or unfortunately, whatever side you are on in this, can't attack that. Secondly, OJ better thank the NFL Players Association, because the NFL Players Association gave him a pension that was ironclad. He made between $125,000 and $300,000 per year every year after he retired, and the Goldmans could never touch that asset. So he did really well for a long time.
Okay, but does that end at his death, or will the kids be able to get the remainder of that's in his pension?
And that is the ultimate question. And that's why, and sometime we're going to come back and revisit this. I really don't know, because it depends. These guys get paid an annuity once a year. Sometimes they can roll it over. Sometimes they can take it in monthly disbursements. It's up to them. So let's suppose OJ still had $300,000 left in what he would have been paid for the rest of the year. The kids might be entitled to that, but I can guarantee you that Ron Goldman's going to be standing there with the bell and say, "Ching-a-lang, ching-a-lang. No, that money goes to me."